the Swing Boat track that they played at the Exit Festival is a track that I released on a techno label from Tel Aviv, and it's not new, and it's nice that they found out, and so that was for me the proof of not like giving up or like not being stigmatized in one genre, so that it works or it can work for me.
Hello there, you just heard the voice of Patrick, better known as the artist Motip White, who is my guest on this episode of the Electric Communion podcast. Motip is a producer hailing from Cologne, Germany, who's had releases on esteemed labels such as Innervisions, Isolate, VOD, When We Dip and Applied Magic, to name just a few. I caught up with Patrick in London after he just returned from a 2-week tour of Britain with his psych pop band Acua, which we'll talk about more in the show. We spent a really nice day together getting to know each other, visited a cool exhibition at the Vinyl Factory on the Strand, before sitting down to do this interview at the Looking Glass cocktail bar in Shoreditch. The guys there were just getting ready for a private Christmas event later that evening, hence the occasional clinking of glasses in the background. Massive thanks to the bar's manager, Alfie, for kindly accommodating us. And just to mention, there'll be no video recording of the interview for this one, due to how it was recorded, but you can still listen to the audio recording of the interview on my YouTube channel if that's where you prefer to check out this podcast. As always, your feedback and support means everything to me and the continuation of this podcast. Please follow at the Instagram handle electric_communion if you're not already doing so, and don't forget to like, comment and share with anyone else you think would enjoy these conversations. And if you're feeling generous and you would like to see this podcast continue to keep growing, then any donation to its upkeep would be hugely appreciated. You could do so by hitting the PayPal link in my Instagram bio, or if you're watching on YouTube, you'll find the link below. I can't thank you enough. Okay, let's jump into the conversation. Electric Communion, conversations in Welcome to episode 13 of the Electric Communion podcast. The date is the 7th of December 2024, and I'm delighted to be joined by Patrick White, better known as the German producer, musician and DJ Motip White, an artist I've been a big fan of since I discovered one of his early EPs, the 2E EP, back in 2021. How are you doing, Patrick?
I'm good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hey, Rick.
You're very welcome. Also, I would like to give a big shout out to Alfie from the Looking Glass cocktail bar in Shoreditch, who has kindly allowed us to record this podcast in his very salubrious bar that he manages. If drinking cocktails is your thing and you live in East London, then I would highly recommend checking it out. I should also say that this all came about from me reaching out to him on the collective community that we discussed in our last episode with my guest, Gus Emmett. And if you haven't listened to that podcast yet, do check it out, as it's a cracking conversation. Patrick, so you hail from Cologne, Germany.
Yeah.
But you're here in London at the moment because you've just come off the back of a British tour with your band Acua, which I'd like to hear more about a little later. But first, let's just talk about the band Acua, because it's quite a different sound from your electronic productions. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-piece band, isn't it?
It's a 4-piece band.
Oh, it is a 4-piece band.
Yeah, we have a synthesizer player, Maya, a bass player, Igor, a drum player, Caroline, and me as like the guitarist and singer.
Right. And for those who aren't yet familiar with the band, you've had 2 albums now. You had Head Underwater, which was released in 2020, and Is There More Past or More Future, which was released 2 years later in 2022.
Yeah.
How would you describe the music that Acua plays?
I think like the proper genre is kind of psych pop. It's like, for me, it's a pop band, but for like a rocky world, it would be a pop band, but for a pop world, it would be a rock band, so something in between. My mom would say like Beatles with overdrive, probably. And yeah, somewhere tangling around these genres.
I really love the band, and I only got introduced to them when I knew I was going to do this podcast, which we talked about this quite some time ago. But I wasn't familiar with them, but I'm really into them, and it's got this, for me, it's got this real shoegazing vibe to it, and I was really into that scene, and still am. Are you familiar with that term, shoegazing,
yes,
from back in Germany?
Of course. It's not a big scene. I mean, you have a bigger scene in the UK, definitely about shoegaze bands, but I think there's a new wave coming back, and it's like again a new time for this genre.
And for listeners maybe who aren't familiar with that term, I guess another similar cultural reference to that type of music is like dream pop. And it describes like a subgenre of indie music that originated actually here in Britain in the 1980s and is typically characterized by like ethereal, dreamy vocals, fuzzy swirling guitar riffs, often like an overemphasis on effects such as the flange. But also the band's performances were often quite subdued and motionless, and the musicians often stirred at their feet whilst playing. Hence, I found out the term shoegaze was coined. Bands such as Bloody Valentine, Ride, Slow Dive, The Curve, they're all good examples. I'm a huge fan of Slow Dive. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, sure.
They're brilliant. I actually was listening to them on the train
Nice.
because I kind of, as I've been doing this research, you start to like dig back into those records, and I absolutely love those guys. Did any of these bands have an influence on Acua's sound?
Of course. I mean, like, we were probably more stereo lab guys than slow dive, but yeah, all these things, Kevin Shields' music, like movie soundtracks, that's shoegazy, all that stuff. I don't see it always like in genres, so I don't like see like me digging in a shoegaze world, but it just accidentally happens that I like dive in records that are called shoegaze records, but they would be probably more from the 90s. Yes, like the Pang album from Stereolab, it's like a yellow album with like a pistol on it, I think.
I do recall it, yeah.
Yeah, and something like this. Like, this is like our go-to shoegaze stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in and listen to a snippet of that track by Acua now. I've chosen the title track of your second album, Is There More Past or More Future? I really love this track, and this was also the first track that introduced me to you guys. What or who first got you into music? Did you get into it at a young age, and what were you listening to back then?
I think like first touches with music were like sitting on the back of the car of my parents, like classic situation, like driving into holidays and listening to like the charts of Germany, like Modern Talking probably. That's like first imaginations when I was like very little. But I think then starting really with like an imagination of me participating in music is like watching MTV music videos seeing like Wolf Mother or the Hives,
Right, yeah.
and like imagining me with a guitar, like being a rock star, with like 10 or I don't know. But like this is like the first time where I recognized, like I got so shocked sitting on the couch that I knew like this is something I need to dive in deeper.
It's the same experience for me. I think I was probably a generation at least before you, but for me, the music that I guess defined my teenage years was the grunge scene, because that was happening.
Yeah.
You know, that whole scene exploded when I was in early teens, whatever, and I was listening to bands like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, and that really kind of resonated with me, and it made me feel really special because it was happening. I felt,
Yes.
you know, I'm really part of this generation, this scene.
Yes, it's happening now. You're part, and it's something where people are against something.
And when did you get into electronic music then?
Probably later, still like in school, but also interestingly, like crossing the borders with Caribou, probably because he's kind of like a hybrid between electronic music and rock music, and so that was the first baby steps for me, seeing, oh, okay, like electronic music, like synthesizers, like work similar than guitars, or there is a way where they match, and then bringing me to like more melodic, minimalistic kind of, probably the Cologne sound, whatever that is, when I was like 18 or something, where I was like ending up in techno music that is like reduced, that is for the club, and there's no vocals, and that's where I just ended up then.
What kind of DJs or artists were you listening to at that time?
I think that's a lot of Cologne music. So like Cologne artists, the first people I've been going to the club with and like seeing our like local heroes were Tobias Thomas, for example, Michael Meyer, you would say, Coma, like all these like Cologne kind of known reduced poppy techno-y things. That's like when I was 18, what I listened to a lot.
And you were born in Cologne, and you still live there now?
Yeah, like I'm born like close to it, like 20 minutes from it, but I live there like in the center, in the heart of Cologne, actually, like in the backyard of the big cathedral, and I really love it. And it's like the last years, the city and me myself, we like became one person somehow, and I'm really a fan of the city. I also know like it has like lots of minus points probably, and something like to laugh off or something, but in the end, like I'm always like feeling so glad when I get back from wherever to be there and spend time there with my friends and enjoy the city. So it's not only about the friends, actually.
What's the vibe like there then, and how does it compare to Berlin and Munich, two cities I've visited many times, as I have two good friends living there? Shout out to Ian in Berlin and Richie in Munich. They're very different to each other, aren't they, in terms of, you know, culture and architecture? You've got Berlin,
Yes,
it's got this cool, edgy, grungy vibe, whereas Munich is much more picturesque, steeped in, you know, Bavarian traditions. How does Cologne compare to the two? Does it kind of sit more with one than the other, or does it sit somewhere in between?
I think it has something of everything, in a very like dense, compact way, but only like the good sides and not the bad sides. And you have like lots of culture like Berlin, you have a very cozy city center like Munich, and you have very nice people actually, and that's what it's all about. That's like what we were as Colonians like make fun of, because that's the only thing that we have actually, but that's the point. It is really working. It is really like it is. The people are just nice. And the city just like takes you by the hand to show you and introduce you to stuff. And that's what cold cities. I love Berlin to go there, and I love Hamburg, but that's like colder cities for me. From like, if you are not from there, they don't take you by the hand, and that's the main difference, I think.
As an electronic music producer, did you ever feel like the need to maybe have to move to Berlin to kind of make your name?
I think you can always get there to get some inspiration. You can go there, have go to some fancy places, some places you don't know can exist, some art galleries that just pop up, blah blah blah. That's all cool. That's like nice, but to really be a person with like a nice surrounding without being anonymous. People like to be anonymous these days. I know that. But for me, it is nice to do everything in a 20-minute walkway, to meet your friends on the street, to spontaneously say, hey, you want to come by, or like meet at the coffee place and stuff. That's what I like, and that brings me to the conclusion, no.
Good answer, fair enough. The Cologne music scene is pretty vibrant, right? I read that it had more live venues than Berlin. Were you aware of that? Is it live music venues?
So we have we used to have lots of clubs. It's changing a lot, and we don't have so many clubs. I think we still have enough clubs, and we also just got one very new, big, interesting club called Phi, where I just played also a few weeks back.
Are you talking about like nightclubs, techno clubs?
Yeah, techno clubs.
Yep.
So the clubby world is still big for such a dense, compact city. I mean, we have 1 million people, but of course, not 1 million people will go to the club event at the weekend. So it's basically seeing all the same people every weekend. If you're really like in it, which I was when I was like younger. I don't go out that much at the moment, but I start actually to go out more right now since 1 or 2 years now, and it's super fun to also like meet people from where I started when I was 17, 18. And so because we are like all back on the dance floor now, but in terms of like live music venues like rock and roll bands and stuff, we also we have this things and big bands like Fontaine's DC and stuff. We were talking about this. They make a stop if you have luck. They make a stop in Cologne. Not all, but we have the venues for it. We have like a 5,000 capacity. We have a 2,000 capacity and like 800 capacity. But I mean, it's not like Berlin or London where like all you want is always there for sure. You have to wait 2 months until like your favorite band comes along, and the local scene of bands is quite lively. It's changing all the time, but it is there, and if you want, you can go there and you can definitely see good live music.
And have you played much on the live venues circuit in Cologne with your band Acua?
The funny thing about this is that we don't play so much in the city. I know that happens like with a lot of other artists too. We were talking about this with other DJs, for example, Invoker. I was talking with Invoker about this. Like a lot of people are not really known in their city, and that's what also is. I always like need to go to the most faraway places, whatever. I don't know why, and I need to change that, but. That's a funny thing. I don't play so much. I play there, yes, and we just played with the band there like 1 month ago, and it was really nice. We were like supporting an American band called Sam Evian, and it was really nice. It was packed full, blah blah blah. But it just rarely happens that we play in Cologne, maybe once a year.
And how about the rest of Germany? Have you done any gigs around the country?
Yeah, sure. Like we were playing in Berlin and Hamburg. And all that stuff. It's still a new band, and it's still a band where we try to like bring on the street and to show to people and introduce to people. It's a way because Instagram and all that stuff is not making it very nice for you as a small band, especially in the band world, because the electronic scene does work way better and way more supportive than the band world. So it's a long way, but yeah, we played shows in Germany, of course. But we are a weird band because we play like 50% in Germany and 50% in other places.
And we'll come onto some of the places you visited and toured on in a minute, but just sticking with the kind of nightclub and the electronic music scene in Cologne for a minute. There are quite a few notable names, aren't there, hailing from Cologne, as well as your good self. You've got Barnt. He's the co-founder of the magazine label. You mentioned, is it Michael Mayer?
Yeah.
One of the co-founders of the excellent Compact label. A label that during my research I found out is referred to by German electronic music lovers as the Bayern Munich of techno. Such is the label's influence on the scene. Have you heard that term before?
Bayern Munich of
Yes.
like music or techno is weird because I'm not a Bayern Munich fan, so it's weird to me. But I can understand the relation. I think it's just like a timeless flagship, and I appreciate what they do. And it's interesting to see, like, over the years, like what people from the outside think about this label. Yeah, it just brings out quality music since years, and I like it. And there is, of course, also music that I don't like, but I mean, Robert Wrume, like also a very good producer and DJ, like over the years, always releases so nice timeless music on Compact, and Jonathan Kasper at the moment, and all these people. And yeah, Barnt, it's very nice that you mentioned Barnt, because that's like one of the guys that's, for me, like really standing out a lot from all the others. I think that like he is really like doing pioneer steps, and that's like what people probably are scared to do a lot. And he is crossing borders, stepping behind the border and stuff, and he's inventing stuff. And that's why I really appreciate, and I get, like, as a museum, I get inspiration out of his music.
And you mentioned Jonathan Kasper. I'm a big fan of him. I love his productions. And you played, didn't you, at the Hauer Airport event? Was it earlier this year?
Yeah, I think I played there a few times.
Yeah, because he's like the main resident, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you like move in the same circles as these people? Do you like meet them, or you just obviously have a mutual respect for them?
Yeah, like in Cologne, you just meet sometimes. I mean, like he's really everywhere, so I don't meet him on the street, but like at the local club Gewölbe or something, we randomly met, and he invited me to parties. So he's actually taking care of bookings here and there, so he just messaged me, and then I was in. And so I'm not so much like in the scene, like taking part, because I was like getting a step out of it in the last years, but I'm now like getting back inside. It's funny because seeing like old faces, like, I mean, don't like not old people, but like the similar faces from last when I was in the scene, and when they are still back, and I see new faces, and like it's a funny mashup. But yeah, I'm more and more again around and checking out what's cool and what not, and so on. Yeah.
And I should mention Redfreya, who was a recent guest on this podcast. She also recently played the Hauer event, didn't she? Yeah. Alongside her friend and back-to-back DJ, Rebecca Goth. And talking about Freya, you played a back-to-back with her at her night, Redfreya and Friends, earlier this year in August. Yeah. I was really sad I couldn't make it. I was on holiday. But how was that? Was that your first time DJing in the UK?
Yeah, DJing, yes. And like a proper DJing, like at a big venue, like at the Course, and it was like included in a big event of Guy J's presents, and we like got kind of the main slot, like playing back to back before like I forgot the name.
Were you were the main person in that room, weren't you?
We were like kind of like.
Tessia was before you.
No, but after us there was playing the big DJ that I thought
Did
is
you say
Dutch.
Guy J? Or
No, he played like very very early outside, and
We'll find out. We'll go back to that later. Yeah.
But anyways, like playing together with Redfreya was super, super nice. We just found out right on the spot that we like are really good in playing back to back together, which is definitely something special because there's so much music and there's so much different types of DJs and stuff, and we are really like kind of a smash between old school and new stuff and friends supporting tracks, because we all like have like friends now who are like very, very nice producers, like Agustin Giri from
America,
close to
right?
right.
Love his stuff.
And all that like kind of music, and we are mashing up all this stuff and like finding out like on the spot that it works properly, like bringing all this together. And then you also see like which music is actually timeless, that works with old music and new music, and so we had a lot of fun doing it together. And so yeah, we said also we would love to do it again.
Cool. And I've heard that mix, because I should say you can actually listen to that recording online. I will leave that mix, I'll post that mix link up to accompany the show, and do recommend it. Electric Communion, conversations in Going back to Germany, how would you like rate the state of the club scene there at the moment? Because there's, I'm sure there's lots of kind of challenges over here in the UK at the moment, and recently, a few months ago, very sad news that Watergate in Berlin is due to close. I don't think it's closed as yet, and like I said, that seems like a kind of a similar story evolving here in the UK. Rising costs, changing lifestyles are all contributing to declining numbers in clubs. Is that something that you've witnessed as either a clubber or a DJ in Germany?
Yes, that's what I witnessed like along the whole last year. So that's like nothing really new. That's something you could see coming, and it's very sad, of course. And I think that's like when people were saying also yes, in Corona times, in COVID times. Yes, now we appreciate culture and we appreciate like music. After COVID, we will go out all day and we will see bands and we will support everyone, blah, blah, blah. I already told my friends, I don't believe that will be like for half a year, there will be like a bubble, like the baby boom, and then it's gone away. And it will be the same like before, because you have to really appreciate and be digging into like arts like this. Otherwise, it needs support from state or something. And so, I saw that coming, and I think a lot of people saw that. I hope that a lot will survive, or like the important stuff will survive, and there will pop up new stuff and so on. We have just a new club in Cologne, so I could see like there's clubs going down or dying, or like where there's like malls now or family houses and stuff. But I can also see there's new ideas, and I can also see there's clubs where nobody goes inside. So you have reasons for everything, and I think it's just the same story of always.
Sure, but talking about needing support from the state, on a positive note, earlier this year it was announced that the Berlin techno scene was added to UNESCO's cultural heritage list. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, Berlin,
Yeah, so which basically means that clubs in Berlin now are considered like cultural institutions on the same level as, say, museums and opera houses, which will hopefully allow them to access more government funding in order to, not only to survive, but to thrive like the good old days. Is that something that gives you hope, and do you see it kind of slowly happening across Germany?
I think yes, for sure. I see that it's more appreciated, or like that people from politics see it more and more. But on the other hand, this is also a fact that is going around since like 10 years, that like so many people are coming for party tourism and stuff. So that's nothing new. There's nothing that the city of Berlin just knows now and just found out now, So I hope that politics are more appreciating it, but that's just not a new. That they knew it since a long time, and.
But there's always been, and I think you'll find that here as well. Certainly with the last government, without getting too much into politics. There's always this big stigma, isn't there, with nightclubs? I guess really because of its association with drugs, and that's why, governments aren't willing to recognise it as, something that brings in a lot of income and, to be on a par culturally with other, areas of art like museums and opera and etc.
It's the same what happens with these venues, right? It's also happening with live music venues. Yeah. And so it's not only about the excuse of like drugs and clubs, because the live music venues are not that known for like taking drugs and stuff.
No, and that's also a big problem in this country.
I think it will just need to end up by having big support, like financial support. What's the word for it? To get subventions,
Yeah, subsidies.
Because otherwise, like art is just not. That's the reality of like having a lively scene where you can also have as a club a weekend where there's not so many people coming, because that's actually reality, because you cannot force to have a full club every Friday and Saturday.
What is it? This is a big question, but what is it, in your opinion, that has made Germany so much kind of at the forefront of people's minds when they think of electronic music?
Yeah, I think that's the music history with Kraftwerk and stuff, and all that stuff. That's like from 80s, 90s electronic synth music. That's why in Cologne it's super big still. Like even if you're looking to go out for seeing live music for bands with synthesizers, you get a lot more than a band with like rock and roll sound in Germany. It's just a more synthesizer world than rock and roll. It's the other way around here.
Sure.
Yeah, like Hamburg has a very big guitar scene, a guitar rock club scene, but the rest of Germany doesn't really.
So let's talk about touring with your band, because as I just mentioned, you are just coming off the back of a tour of Britain. You've been to Bristol, Cardiff, Lancaster, Birmingham and Edinburgh, and you kicked off the tour a couple of weeks ago in London, where I got to see you play at the Gunners pub in Highbury, and I really enjoyed that, as did my mates who come along. So how has the tour of Britain been for you?
Very nice. I just told you when we've been to the museum before, to the art gallery, that it's so nice, and it's part of the thing to just see small cities, to see how the real country, the real England is, and not only London. That's what I really enjoy. And so seeing like cities like Lancaster or Bristol is really interesting, and we really enjoyed as a band.
Did it live up to any expectations or stereotypes, and were you pleasantly surprised by anything?
I was surprised how British England is, like to get like, it's funny because it's actually no surprise for sure, but to see it then in front of your eyes, and like to play with bands that have like, they play like London Calling as the last track and everybody's going crazy, and how the guitar sound is like with that British tone in the guitars, and how all that is like really happening, that was the surprise. That was the surprise, and that was a very nice surprise, of course, and that will be something that I will tell when I'm very old.
Do you have a favourite city out of the ones you visited? And I should mention you also visited Glasgow, even though you didn't play there.
Definitely Bristol was a very nice city, very special, and Freya, my friend and also your friend, who I just met yesterday in a very fancy bar called Space Talk. She just told me that like Bristol is kind of a little bit Cologne-ish in the UK, like the Cologne of the UK maybe. So I was actually really falling in love with Bristol. The people were super nice. The artists we met, played with, were super nice. It had a very lively culture in terms of just go out and see what's happening. You can walk everywhere. It's nice to walk around the river. They have like fancy pubs, some special things here and there, and in a fabric hall in the middle of the city, and the old town was nice, and everything of this. And the same was with Glasgow. Glasgow was also very special. And I was really surprised in a good way for sure, like how many international people are there, what's going on the weekend. Like our favorite band, Fontaines DC, is playing there, maybe 2 shows even, and stuff like this. So it's like also seems to be very, very lively. We spent 3 days there to just check it out, and I know that I definitely come back, and probably more in the summer than in the winter, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and we were saying before, when Bristol's got quite a similar vibe to Brighton, where I'm from. And you've been to Brighton, haven't you? You said you went to Brighton a couple of years ago. How do you feel your band has been received? How has Acua been received by the British public? Did you have any kind of fan base before you started touring?
We've been touring Canada 3 times, and so we said, why don't we ever make it really in the UK? We just when we were founded, we just did 2 shows in Brighton and somewhere else, I forgot, I think in London or so. And so we really wanted to make something where we get the foot in the door and to just do the really groundwork for coming back next year, because we will also release a new album next year. And so that was definitely worth it, and we made a lot of contacts and stuff, and yes, it was nice to play. I mean, we are in the end of November, beginning of December, and it was not always full, of course. We don't expect this also as a German band, that people come out so much on a Wednesday in Bristol, I don't know. But for the first steps, it was really good, and we know that we will come back next year, that's for sure.
And how did you choose the venues? Because you were telling me earlier that you don't have a manager. You know, you guys are doing this yourself, so that must take a lot of time and research, right? Yeah.
So we used to be in a bigger booking agency in the beginning, but the band just does everything by its own at the moment, because it just works somehow. And that's okay, and we don't have to spend money somewhere, and so it's very do-it-yourself, and that's kind of nice. Also, it's a little paperwork and emails and stuff, but yes, it works. And what was your question? How it came together?
Yeah, how do you go about booking the venues?
We just we did a test gig last year in London at the Victoria. In Dalston, and then it worked out really well, and we thought, okay, so why not? And then we had the same promoter from last time saying, yeah, we definitely want to book you again, and then that was the starting point. And from there on, we just worked it out, and this time it was just a few places, but hopefully next year then maybe a little bit more.
You guys are really well travelled. You mentioned that you did a tour of Canada, but you also went to Japan, didn't you? And I'm really interested in Japan because I'm a bit of a Japan file myself. I spent some time living there in the early 2000s. What was that like touring, and where did you visit, and what were some of the highlights?
We were the second time going on tour in Japan in October last year, and for us, it was very crazy because, of course, understanding and translation, you are lost. And our bass player Igor learned a lot on the flight, like a lot on Japanese, and he still does. He's a genius, like when it comes to language stuff. And so we were ending up like on the concerts that he was saying, "Hey, we are a band from Germany. So nice that you just came out and stuff." And like that's actually a lot, and the people really appreciated this. And after this, like it really like broke the ice.
Yeah.
And we were getting in a dialogue with all the bands, and because in Japan it's very normal that you are playing on a night with 5 other bands or 4 or whatever, and that was a very nice thing that Igor did, and that helped us a lot. We were starting in Tokyo. We were actually playing 3 times, I think, in Tokyo, like in the beginning and in the end, and somewhere. Then sometime else, and we were going to Kyoto, Osaka, Nagoya, then also to the south, very south. There is like Takamatsu, which is the city where udon noodles come from.
Nice.
So we were sitting in an udon noodle bar every day, and getting there for very cheap, because it's just very normal for like business workers to just drop in. It's very quick and easy, and like a 20-minute like just a lunchtime thing. And we were going to the very north, to Sapporo, to
it's on the island of Hokkaido.
Hokkaido,
right?
yes,
in the north. Yeah.
And it's a trip. It's like a 9 hours train drive or something. But we did 2 shows in Sapporo, and that was also a very special city where the people were very different, and the people were like also kind of like they were talking to us on the street, like saying hello, welcome to Sapporo on the street, just randomly, which is special for Japan. So very like outgoing. Yeah. Again, somebody told us that's very like the Cologne of Japan. Right. I could do this joke all the time, and the relation explain. I could sell Cologne probably, but yeah, it was an adventure across the whole country from the north to the south.
I mean, I was going to ask you how fans over there compared to, say, those of the UK or Canada, because, you know, like you alluded to then, Japanese people are generally quite shy, but, you know, certainly once they've had a few drinks, you kind of see a different side for them. And I would imagine that people coming to watch you in a band, I remember this is 20 years ago, they're quite enthusiastic once those kind of social barriers are broken down, often through alcohol, but they're quite enthusiastic about, you know, Western people, Western bands. Did you get that kind of sense?
Yes, that's what happened. That's what happened in basically every show. So like a reserved crowd in the beginning of the show, and after the show, a loose, nice conversation about everything with everyone, making photos, and yeah, just great.
Nice, yeah. And you've just done a tour of South America. Were you DJing then, right?
Yeah.
And how was that?
That was nice. Just 3 weeks ago, first time South America, Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires. First time Brazil and first time Argentina. It was not Buenos Aires, it was like a city close to Buenos Aires called Mar del Plata. Nice city, where the people from Buenos Aires go to holiday. It's like Brighton, you would say, probably, at the coast.
And people, nightclubbers there, were they familiar with you as a DJ, or did they just kind of turn up to see who was DJing?
Some yes, some not, but this is like also what I meant in the beginning. The difference between like band and techno culture is that the techno culture is so small that it's like a tiny group of people, and it doesn't matter where they are because they know you from the internet. So not everybody knew me there, of course, but like I mean, I was in Sao Paulo watching another DJ from Berlin, or from Tel Aviv, actually, Tal Fußmann.
Oh yeah.
I was going to watch him, and I was just like dancing in a bigger club, just for like being there, and because I had a free day. And then, somebody recognized me and say, you're Motip White, and then like we had beers and he introduced me to all the other guys and stuff. And so, this is the crazy thing about like the electronic scene.
Do you enjoy life on the road, or do you find yourself wanting to get back to Cologne, get back to family, friends, and a familiar bed?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to a familiar bed for sure. But of course, it is nice to drive through a country, to look out the window and see something totally different. To tell anybody in your real life what happened, and to make this have an influence on what you think and how important things are, which things are important, which not, or which things might have an influence on your music and stuff. So it's like you are collecting basically all the time, and valuing what you see, what is important and what not. And of course I like both. I'm really looking forward to be in the studio also now. But you were asking me after 2 weeks of touring.
Yeah, sure.
Electric Communion, conversations in
Well, let's talk more about your work as an electronic music producer. Something that I didn't realise until I started to kind of dig a little bit deeper, do some research for this podcast, is that you were founder of a label called Dorf Jungs.
That's funny that you made very good research.
Thank you. And it was started around 2013. And I read also that it kind of made itself a name by its individual sound artwork concepts. Tell me more about the origins of that label.
So we were meeting up with 8 people, all different. Some of them from the village, like me. Some of them from the city. Some artsy people. Some like easygoing people who are not so familiar with like art stuff and galleries and whatever. All a mashup of these kind of people, and we were all trying to find a language, and we came together in this very crazy thing. Hey, let's make music, let's make parties, and let's find a unique individual artwork for every vinyl that we release, and we are gonna paint every single vinyl that we release. Meaning 300 copies on acrylic, we have to paint all the 300 with acrylic paint, with acrylic color. So, and all this stuff. And we did like, I think 8 or 9 or 10 releases. So, we had a lot of, we were really, really creative in that time, and released like our baby steps of the first steps of our electronic ideas, and some of them were shit, and some of them were like really something that I just look back and say, wow, okay, that's not bad for someone who is like still in school.
And talking about art, I saw something you did called the White EP, where you or someone did the artwork for 330 record sleeves drawn with a spatula.
Yes,
right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Is art another media that you enjoy creating?
The idea was coming from our like artwork director, Robin. He was like the guy who was thinking about how we release all the different EPs or albums, and for this we thought it's a nice provocation to don't release the white album of the Beatles, but the white EP of Motip White.
Right.
And so we came up with that idea, and I still have it in mind that it was like a lot of work, even if it's just little things painting on each vinyl, but it has to dry for a very, very long time. You have to make sure that it doesn't you're not messing around and destroying a vinyl cover because you just have 300 and you don't have like more. so every single one has to look good somehow, right? Because so it makes it so valuable for yourself. And then we had the compact distribution selling it, which was nice because then in Japan you could also buy it, and it was like some of them were really quickly sold out wherever in the world that it was, and some of the music is still like around and is played. Also, I play sometimes still music of this, even if it's a long time ago, and it's not like the real. If it's not really sitting in time right now, but it is still playable. Yeah.
And was your first ever release is it the Lauer Bent
Yes.
EP? Was that your first ever release?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my first release where I sit down and said, yeah, let's do something with this name, and let's do a bunch of tracks. I think 4, something with a nice ambient remix of a friend called Cass, who does really nice ambient music. And then he did like a new version of a track of mine with a cello, and the artwork was coming from Miles Heskett, the drummer of the band Wolfmother.
Oh, right, nice, nice, yeah. I remember
That's what nobody knows, but yeah, we just messaged, and he is a painter, and he just like did this in the original version of the cover is a big painting, acrylic on canvas. And he was really open-minded for the idea, and then we put it on each vinyl.
And what about the label now? I take it that it's no longer going.
No, it's not going. It's kind of closed. We never said we don't do it, and we break up. But yeah, everyone is wherever. Like a few of us are in Cologne, a few of us are in Berlin, and yeah. So sometimes in a regular communication, but it's funny because I know that we will all like find our way back, and we'll meet at a certain place wherever it will be, because everyone is like doing some stuff. And what is probably like the biggest or most interesting thing is the artist called Gianni Brezzo, which is like a kind of jazz pop hybrid, releasing on Jakarta Records. That's like a very interesting a band project from one of us called Marvin, and they are playing. They also played a show in London in August, and yeah, so everyone made its way. Yeah,
cool. Now in 2019, your track, is it Boost?
Yeah.
You said Boost, with its kind of heavy sonic bass line, was released on the legendary Berlin label Innervisions on the long-standing Secret Weapons series. It was volume 11, sitting alongside artists such as Santiago Garcia, Eid, Murat Onkeluju, and many more respected names. Now that must have been, I think, a big moment for you at the time, as it's one of those labels and compilations that many producers within the scene, I guess, aspire to release on, and you seemingly got it early on in your career. Can you remember how that came about?
Yes, definitely. That pushed a little bit. Of course, I could see it. I mean, it's not like it didn't like explode. But of course I could see people are reaching out to me and stuff. I got a little bit more bookings. I mean, it was like a shit time because 2019 was before COVID, and then like everything decreased with COVID, and I had to like kind of start from zero.
Yeah.
So I start my timeline actually a little bit like after this. It feels like, but of course, like it's still. I'm always sending music to them nowadays, and I know they play it sometimes.
Yeah. Dixon does still like to kind of dig back into the archives, doesn't he, occasionally, of Innervisions. But their sound has quite changed now, and I guess, that's just with any label, it's always evolving, isn't it,
Yes. And it's really depending on where they play. I think, like, with the really top of them, I know, for example, Dixon, it really depends on if you see him on this festival or this festival, and on this time slot or on this time slot.
I'm curious, when you were communicating with Innervisions, or even still now, are you talking directly to Dixon and the ARM guys who co-run the label, or do they have people kind of behind the scenes doing the kind of admin, let's say?
Christian from I think these guys know me from my old label Dorfjungs still, because they really appreciated what we were doing, because they also felt it's very special to be so stupid and paint all of the 300 vinyls, right? And so that's why probably there is still a loose contact. I mean, there's not a lot, but of course I can always send music to these guys.
Cool. And you recently had a release on another big label, Isolate, your track Sweat, which was a collab, wasn't it, with Schleppgeist?
Yes.
He's from Leipzig?
Yeah.
How did that collab come about? And was that your first collab on a electronic music?
Yeah, I think
track?
so. Because I wanted to try it out, and we were both fans of us. And we also have a bunch of people around ourselves who are the same, so we are kind of in the same bubble somehow. And so I was making a remix for him last year for the Carta Blau record Kiosk ID.
Oh yeah,
the label of them.
Yep.
And so and I actually made more tracks of him than only one. So there's one more, and probably will also be one more. I don't know. And I think it's a very good fit. It was very easy collaborating with him, and there is a nice sweet spot between him and me. I think I really like the EP that we both did together.
Now you've had releases also on VOD, Frau Blau, Anims, When We Dip. What labels have you not had a release on yet that you'd like to in the future?
I think stuff that I really always looked for, or where I got lots of inspiration, but probably are not so close to my music, is, for example, 3024, this 3224, the record label of Martin. Do you know that?
No.
And there's lots of music on it, for also from Leon Weinhall, for example, early days. Things like this, that's really where I get a lot of inspiration from. So this might be super nice, but I don't know if that turns out, because I probably have to evolve more in this direction.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not so much with I'm not so much digging into who is who and whatever, because if you have a great piece of music and it's coming out there or it's coming out there, if they support you and there's a bunch of good labels, then it doesn't matter where it's from. But the biggest stuff that I'm is timeless and I still hear is Running Back and 3024 and probably also Compact, things like this. But I don't really care so much about it. I mean, I have a very good support by my friends from When We Dip and XYZ in Montreal. We are working together a lot, and that's a very nice symbiosis. And I have lots of plans with them as well.
I was counting how many tracks you released, certainly according to Spotify, since about 2015, your Liar Ben EP, and we're talking more than 40, and that's not including remixes, which I think is pretty good going. And let's not forget you're also working with music on your band Acua. Would you say that making music comes naturally to you? And are you self-taught? Did you do any music studies?
I didn't do any studies. I just learned to play the guitar when I was 12. I played Santana on an acoustic guitar, which I hated, and it was not fun. I didn't learn it properly and stuff. Nowadays, I really love this music, but for a 12-year-old person, that's just not what you actually want. And so I feel like this is just time that is for the trash. Actually, when I learned the guitar, I cannot read any notes or something, but I learned, but I cannot because it was just not interesting for me. and so it feels like I'm just like I started a few years ago again, and I'm not interested in like being nerdy in an instrument, but I'm more like putting together things, and I'm more trying to be like as playful as possible. That's my thing.
And are you working on music every day, and how do you organise the time between the two quite different projects? Do you write the music for Acua as more of a kind of collaboration with your band members?
Yes, I'm doing music every day. I think that was a big step to see if it's working. Like 5 years ago or something, or 3 years ago, to like really try to get something out of it of every day. And to also develop. I'm also like teaching me now like drums and guitar and stuff, and but without notes, like more what I want, like in which direction I want to go. I think both projects are perfectly like balanced out next to each other, because I'm bored very early when I do too much band music, and I want to like smash it up and crank up the speakers and hear a loud like bass line and stuff, and like have a clean image of hearing. And then like when I get into the techno world, it's so nice because everything is like so cleaned up, and it's like just a different thing. And to jump around these two worlds is like probably the best way to not get annoyed by yourself.
Is there a particular piece of equipment you can't live without certainly in terms of your electronic music production? Do you like to use a lot of analog equipment, or are you mainly working in the box, so to speak?
I just see the positive things about both. I don't I would say 50-50 what I do. It's very good to like be around in your studio, letting the kid out of you, and like smashing the faders and the key buttons and playing guitar and whatever, and like being on an analog thing that is not somewhere properly connected or whatever, because it's just happening in the moment. And on the other hand, you don't need analog gear, of course, because of the sound or whatever. So like the perfect world is when everything comes together, and that's also where like the best thing happens, like the touch of where organic ideas meet synthetic ideas, because both worlds in clean are probably this or that, but not like this and that, because I think that's, for me, probably that's very important to always have both worlds in one.
Your vocals in particular, I think, are what makes your dance tracks unique, because you often have vocals and they have that dreamy, distorted shoegaze vibe that we talked about before, that's similar to your band. When you're writing the lyrics, do you ever set out writing them with the intention of being for Acua and then think, actually, I might use these for an electronic music track, or vice versa?
Yes, it happens. It happens more and more, and sometimes I'm also like using this for this, and then later I can see, okay, that perfectly fits into this as well, and then it's going in both projects. And yeah, like the drummer of our band Acua is also writing a lot of lyrics, and my friend Vincent also like participated a lot in the last albums of the band, and he's also like a part of like not only like correcting, more like really bringing new ideas and like speaking for the band. Now he also like wrote complete tracks. And when I go to him with like Motip White idea lyrics, then it's a very nice like what is crystallizing, what comes out in the end. It's a very nice clash of my stupid ideas and him like coming from a a British like Arctic Monkeys way of
Right.
writing lyrics, and then sometimes it's just that I want to bring up an instrument without there being an instrument, and then the vocals just have like the function of being like a Radioheadish kind of violin or whatever, you know. And it's not so important. I mean, it's always important what you say, but they have like the function of an instrument, and sometimes it's more like, okay, I need to like be the rapper bringing the message.
Right. Yeah. Well, we are going to play a snippet of one of your tracks now for maybe listeners who are not familiar with you. And I had to think really long and hard about this because I love so many of your tracks. But I have actually gone for, I guess, well, one of the tracks that I was first introduced to you from, and that's the 2E EP, and the track of that same name, 2E. So we'll have a listen to that now. So I remember listening to kind of music who, huge now, and they ended the Exit Festival set in Serbia last year with your track Swing Boat. Did that introduce you to a whole new legion of followers? Just because of how huge they are, yeah?
Yes, and that's also interesting for me because I never want to make this or that genre or this or that. Like, I don't want to make a banger and I only bangers or only like warm-up music and stuff. It turns out I always do like different kind of. Hopefully they have something in common, like an handwriting or something, but this introduces me to different worlds because before I was probably more in this like heavy hitting techno-ish kind of bubble, which I also like make music for, of course, but also I have like music which is probably also it's not a new record that they play it out. And the swing boat track that they played at the Exit Festival is a track that I released on a techno label from Tel Aviv, and it's not new, and it's nice that they found out. And so that was for me the proof of not like giving up or like not being stigmatized in one genre, so that it works or it can work for me. And that was also a new thing that pops up in my head now in the last month, and also for my friends and my label from Montreal, and their minds to be like more open-minded to also Afro house music and stuff. And for me it's still like boring to just play 2 hours in this genre and in this genre, so I it's natural for me to mix up everything and always play a half Afro house track. And so so that's why also there will be a very nice Afro house remix by Jamie coming of my music, of my last record on When We Dip. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward for this time now, like being in more than one world, and like getting being recognized and being so like anticipated with that.
Yeah. Big question: which do you prefer, performing on stage with Acua, DJing in clubs, or being at home in the studio making music?
That's a question where you just can like fall from the couch and make the wrong decision.
Could be a different answer on a different day, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
it is like it just depends on where you are and which state of mind, and if you want to go on tour, or if you go home and stuff. And if I come out of a club and I have like a very late slot and not a good day, I think like, oh, band music is just like nicer to just play at 9, and then you don't have the sleeping problem. But on the other hand, it's making me free also to play a long DJ set, and I like this still because I still go out and stuff, and I like just having a party and being on a music exploration. And so that's why I also like DJing. It's just like two worlds, and artists like Caribou or something like this, or Mount Kimby or something like this, like are perfect examples that both worlds have something in common. They have a point where they meet, and both are different. Both are satisfying you on a different way.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for you as both Motip White and Acua? You mentioned that you've got a third album coming up for Acua. And that's next year?
Yeah, so we have, I'm also making music for other people. I'm also working on another album, another pop album that's finished under another name, and I'm also a mixing engineer and stuff. So there's always like things coming out. But especially next year, we are looking forward to release music with the band and also Motip White. There's a lot of like unreleased stuff. There's tons of tracks which are made in this direction and in this direction, and I'm really looking forward to show more and more what my worlds are about. And probably on a certain point all projects will like melt, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to release a lot of stuff next year.
And any more tours planned?
Not really like on the white paper, but I'm talking a lot to my booking agency at the moment to like making a strategy and crystallizing what we will do and so on. And It looks like, I don't know, but probably next year I will play again in Japan, hopefully. And the rest will be crystallized later than I think in the next month.
Nice. So finally, a question that I always ask my guests is, where can listeners who are not familiar with both you as Motip White and your band Acua, where can they follow you to find out more about you and what you're up to?
So they can definitely like check out my music on Spotify. I mean, that's like the most important thing.
Yep.
I'm not so much of an Instagram person, probably. I should do more. But yeah, like that's the most important thing, to just like dive in the music and decide if you like it or not. So just check it out, and I will also tell the world about my other projects coming up and about my upcoming releases. The next release for Motip White for the electronic world will be on Rummel Music of Barcelona.
Yep, I know the label.
And so I'm really looking forward to this one, because that's also actually music that I really, really like looking forward to release, because of course you always have music which you think is nice, but there's also like your darlings, and there's like definitely gonna be a release of my darlings.
Off the top of your head, can you remember your Instagram for Motip White and Acua?
Yeah, so it's just Motip Music or Motip White is just the Instagram, but I don't know, like
search it and you'll find it. Yeah,
yes.
And Acua Music, is it?
Yes, Acua Music is like ACUA, spelled like ACUA, and I think the Instagram is then ACUA Music, but you will definitely find it, because there's not so much other Aquas than the I'm a Barbie Girl Swedish Acua.
Don't worry, I've got your back anyway. What I will do is I will make sure that I post the links to those accounts to accompany this podcast. Well, I think we've covered a hell of a lot of ground today. It's been a very interesting chat with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to come and come and see me and come and chat with me. And thank you so much. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas when you finally get back to Cologne. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Electric Communion. Conversations in
A Dankeschön, Patrick, for being such a fantastic guest on the podcast. I really enjoyed the day we spent together in London, and I look forward to catching up with him again next time he's in town. Thanks also to my previous guest and mutual friend Redfreya for hooking us both up. Just to mention, the DJ that Patrick was having trouble remembering the name of when we were discussing the Redfreya and Friends party he played at was the Dutch heavyweight Patrice Baumel. And talking of that party, you can find the link of the recording of the back-to-back Patrick did with Redfreya on that night in the notes accompanying this podcast, alongside the social media links for both Motip and Acua, so you can keep up to date with future releases and events. And for future updates about this podcast, don't forget to follow the Instagram account electric_communion. And if you haven't yet listened to previous episodes, you can do so via the links in the bio, and you can find the episodes on your platform of choice, including my Soundcloud and YouTube page. You can also check out my Spotify page, which has a selection of work from all the artists who've appeared on the show. It's always great to hear your feedback about the show, so please do get in touch. If there's any burning issue that I've not discussed that you think I should be talking about in the show, love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you think you have something to bring to the show as a guest, or you have suggestions about who you'd like to hear on the show, I'd love to hear from you as well. And finally, if you dig the show, please do support by liking, commenting and sharing to get those algorithms burning on all cylinders so more listeners can join the communion. Your support is really appreciated, and until the next episode, keep on dancing.
Electric Communion. Conversations in